Hello, and thank you for joining us today from the North Texas Food Bank's distribution headquarters at the Pereira Family Campus in Plano, Texas. As I speak to you today, Food Bank staff and volunteers are sorting, packing, and preparing thousands of pounds of food for distribution to the 13 counties we serve. It's a continuation of the work that we've been doing for the last 40 years, when 4 visionary leaders created the North Texas Food Bank with one purpose: to feed our hungry neighbors. And for 4 decades, this work has been sustained by the tremendous support of our caring community. But the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic fallout that followed reversed the last decade's progress towards closing the hunger gap. I'm grateful to share that in response to the pandemic, the Food Bank, in partnership with our feeding network, was able to provide access to more than 125 million meals in our last fiscal year alone. But the pandemic's impact on food insecurity is far from over. Our neighbors in every zip code, many of whom were struggling even before the pandemic, are facing increasingly difficult choices every day, deciding whether to purchase groceries or pay for other necessities such as medicine or utilities. That's a decision no one should have to make.
Every day in North Texas, more than 800,000 people wake up to uncertainty. They don't know where they will find their next healthy meal. This includes 1 in 5 children. Families are forced to make difficult decisions between feeding their household and other, sometimes life-saving necessities. The COVID-19 pandemic led to a 55% increase in the number of families nationally seeking help from food banks.
Good morning, Mama.
Good morning.
Can I have cereal?
Okay, go sit down. There you go, honey.
Thanks, Mama.
You're welcome.
Where's your breakfast?
Oh, don't worry. I just wasn't hungry this morning. Big bite. You got some milk? Oh, I think that's the bus. Come on, let's get ready.
Bye, Mama.
Bye. Love you. Be careful.
The North Texas Food Bank provides healthy food to neighbors in need through a feeding network of partner agencies across 13 counties. Thanks to a caring community, we provide food for today and hope for tomorrow, transforming lives across North Texas. Join us. Visit ntfb.org/Nourish North Texas.
We're all too aware that there are so many in our community like this mom and her daughter. That's why we've launched an ambitious strategic plan with a supporting campaign called Nourish North Texas that will address the increased need for food today while also tackling the underlying issues that lead to hunger. As you will hear, Nourish North Texas allows us to invest in and expand our feeding network and to build new bridges to community resources that will help our neighbors move toward food security and self-sufficiency while ensuring everyone has access to the nutritious foods they need to thrive. We are piloting innovative new programs with other critical service providers in healthcare, education, and skills development to help our neighbors transform their lives. We could not embark on this campaign without supporters like you. A special thank you to the men and women that you're going to hear from next. They'll be leading the North Texas Food Bank on this journey. Thank you again for being here. The following video will tell you more about the Nourish North Texas campaign, followed by some words from the North Texas Food Bank Board Chair, Michael Brookshire.
The North Texas Food Bank is launching a bold effort to create lasting change and transform lives in North Texas. Throughout its 40-year history, the North Texas Food Bank has been a leader in the fight against hunger. Thanks to the generous support of our community and the incredible work of our feeding network, we've made tremendous strides in addressing food insecurity and providing nourishment to our hungry neighbors. But the hunger crisis in our region has changed dramatically, and perhaps never as much as over the past year when many North Texans found themselves seeking food assistance for the first time. The COVID-19 pandemic both caused and exposed unprecedented hunger and presented one of the greatest challenges our organization and our community has ever faced. Today, according to Feeding America, approximately 800,000 North Texans do not know where their next healthy meal will come from. This means 1 out of every 6 people and 1 out of every 5 children in our region may go to bed hungry. The North Texas Food Bank region is the 6th highest in the nation in food insecure people. The hunger crisis today requires that we act with a renewed sense of purpose. It requires bold thinking and new approaches that address both the increased need for food and the underlying issues that lead to hunger. Nourish North Texas, an ambitious campaign that will address the increased need for food today, while also tackling the underlying issues that lead to hunger. The food bank had established a 10-year plan with the goal of providing 92 million meals annually by 2025. In response to unprecedented demand, we exceeded that goal 5 years ahead of schedule through our COVID-19 response and alongside our dedicated feeding network. This campaign supports our new strategic multi-year plan for providing our neighbors with food for today and hope for tomorrow.
Through generous community support, we have proven that with the right resources, we can close the meal gap in North Texas, and now want to use our core competency of food to work with partners to address the root causes of food insecurity, both vital to creating lasting change for our neighbors and our community. Nourish North Texas allows us to invest in and expand our feeding network and work with new partners to build new bridges to educational, workforce, and community health resources that help our neighbors move out of hunger and toward greater economic stability. A nourished community is a thriving community, and these investments will have a critical impact in North Texas.
With a goal of raising $500 million in both funds and the donated food required for the North Texas Food Bank to serve the current needs in our community, this campaign reflects the scale of the hunger crisis and the broad solutions that are required. The campaign's goals are to secure over 3 years $150 million in cash donations to support our core mission of providing food for today across our 13-county service area by investing in new partnerships and in our programs that provide food directly to children and seniors. It also provides hope for tomorrow through new and expanded partnerships that address root causes of food insecurity and help our neighbors become more self-sufficient. $300 million in donated nutritious food products from retailers, food manufacturers, and the community to offset the cost of purchased food, which has increased by 6 times the amount since the pandemic. $50 million to create a sustainable source of income through an endowment that will help our feeding network grow their capacity. Finally, we will recognize the significant value that volunteers provide, estimated at $3 million over the course of 3 years.
We know that addressing the increased and pressing needs in our community will be a significant challenge, requiring significant investment. For our communities and neighbors, however, the cost of inaction is even greater. Please help provide food for today and hope for tomorrow to Nourish North Texas by investing your money, time, and voice. Thank you for your support as we create lasting change and transform lives in North Texas.
Join the movement. Visit ntfb.org/Nourish North Texas to find out how you can help provide food for today and hope for tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Michael Brookshire. I'm honored to be leading the Food Bank Board of Directors as we launch the Nourish North Texas campaign. It is also a great responsibility. The COVID-19 pandemic and the dual health and economic crises it produced left no one unaffected. We are at a critical point in our fight against hunger. We will need historic resources to meet and reduce the growing need for food assistance in North Texas. The Nourish North Texas vision is rooted in innovative approaches, pioneering partnerships, and deeper community engagement. It will transform how we operate across key areas, from how and where we source our food, to how we streamline our logistics and distribution, to how we empower others to realize lasting change. And just as we will reimagine our role in the fight against hunger, we will also reimagine the expected outcomes as measured in community health and wellness and in lives changed. Those we serve are at the heart of all we do. And we know in order to ensure they have access to the nutrition they need, long-term investments need to be made. The Nourish North Texas campaign will allow us to do just that. Next, our campaign chairs will share more. Please welcome Katherine Reeves.
Thank you, Michael. I'm Katherine Reeves, and it's an honor to be here at the Pereira Family Campus supporting a cause and an organization that is so dear to my heart and the hearts of my family. Outside of the Pereira Family Campus is the statue of an X titled Lulu May's Mark, named after my grandmother. During the Great Depression, an X was placed on the curb of my grandmother's home to indicate it was a place where hungry people could be fed. It was a sign of nourishment and hope, and a reminder that there were people like Lulu May and her family who cared about them. Our country and our community are in crisis once again, and now, more than ever, I hope this mark and the North Texas Food Bank act as symbols of hope and nourishment for all of us living through these uncertain times, and especially for our hungry neighbors. Even as our economy improves since the onset of the pandemic, there will still be long-term elevated food insecurity. According to Feeding America, changes in the number of people facing hunger tends to lag years behind economic improvements as families and communities recover and regain self-sufficiency. There is an even greater impact on communities of color who face higher rates of unemployment, poverty, and food insecurity. The Nourish North Texas campaign was created to address these pressing issues and will raise critical funds and resources to meet the needs of our neighbors. My husband Eric and I believe we must be ambitious in our efforts to provide food for today and hope for tomorrow. Drawing from the lessons of my grandmother, I leave you with this. How will you make your mark?
Hi, my name is Jeff George. My wife Renee and I are proud to support the North Texas Food Bank as we launch this bold undertaking. I realize that a goal of $500 million sounds like a big number, But as you saw in the video, we've broken it down amongst our most critical areas, which we'd like to tell you a little more about. The $150 million in cash donations will allow us to provide what we refer to as Food for Today by supporting our core mission of sourcing, collecting, and transporting food to more than 200 partner agencies across the 13 counties we serve. It also allows us to provide more food directly to children, seniors, and families through mobile pantries, food for kids, and school pantry programs, as well as the commodity supplemental food program for seniors. It's helpful to remember that 1 in 6 people in the 13 counties we serve around Dallas is food insecure, including 1 in 5 kids. Finally, Nourish North Texas provides what we're calling Hope for Tomorrow through new partnerships that help our neighbors become more self-sufficient by addressing the root causes of food insecurity. This includes helping food bank partner agencies build capacity beyond just food to serve more people. We will distribute nutritious food to our partner agencies and invest in their missions so they can grow and provide vital additional services, which can change lives. We know many of our neighbors might seek food assistance and are then introduced to other critical services such as job training, housing support, and healthcare. Our feeding network is a critical part of our work, and supporting its growth is key to making a lasting impact. We're also looking beyond our traditional partnerships by establishing new collaborations with educational, workforce, and healthcare resources in the communities we serve. Imagine a job training program where someone can receive fresh produce, or a student receiving a food scholarship from an educational institution so that he or she can focus on learning instead of where the next meal will come from. The $150 million we seek to raise through Nourish North Texas will directly support these innovative initiatives and more as we provide food for today and hope for tomorrow. Thank you for your support, for your trust, and for your partnership.
Hi, my name is Florence Bender. My husband Jason and I are honored to be a part of this campaign, and on a greater scale, a part of meeting the serious needs in our community. One of the most crucial aspects of this campaign is knowing that we will be securing more food than ever before. $300 million of in-kind food donations over 3 years. Buying food is the greatest expense in our operating budget, and it has increased by 6 times the amount prior to the pandemic. Therefore, it is more critical than ever that we source nutritious foods through in-kind donations from retail partners, food manufacturers, and the community to help offset this expense. We will also seek to raise $50 million for an endowment, which provides a permanent, sustainable source of income to supplement annual dollars raised, with a percentage dedicated to helping our feeding network grow their capacity. The pandemic-related spike in food insecurity reminds us all that the need for food assistance can shift suddenly, along with the economic environment. Now is the time to make a strategic investment that will help our hungry neighbors for years to come. Building an endowment is a vital and responsible way to prepare for the future. Finally, we will recognize the significant value that volunteers provide. We estimate their labor to be valued at $3 million over the course of 3 years. We have created a network of compassionate and committed partners, donors, and volunteers in the fight against hunger. We're excited to take these partnerships and initiatives to a new level to address the hunger crisis.
Hi, my name is Anurag Jain, and my wife Gunjan and I are campaign chairs of the food bank. We've been involved with the food bank for over a decade, and the one thing that has happened in that decade is the need for food in our region has actually grown. This issue is personal for me. My father grew up in India with a family of 7, and he actually grew up hungry. He barely got 2 meals a day. In fact, there are stories of how his sister would keep just a little extra food for him because he was the youngest and he was the thinnest of all his brothers and sisters. Well, he came to the US in the 1960s on a scholarship, and at that point was 35 pounds underweight. In fact, he wears this sort of as a badge of honor today, where he said when he went to work, he would go buy Arrow shirts, which was the #1 brand at that point, but he would go to the boys' store and get his shirts $1 cheaper than they were for men. But today, 30 years later, we're no longer food insecure. We are well taken care of. And we want to make sure as a family that we do whatever we can to take care of people so they're not in the same situation that we were 30 years ago. COVID-19 has changed our world in many, many ways. Without the volunteers, it was impossible to find a way to get the food to the people who most needed it, and that need, as you know, was increasing. At that point, an idea was born. Could we take displaced hospitality workers, at that point, lots and lots of people, if you remember, were getting laid off, and bring them to work at the food bank and give them a small stipend to do what our volunteers do? This idea got called Get Shift Done, and actually we went on to help over 100 service organizations in 7 cities and put 12,000 people back to work with generous support all over this area. As we return to work, we have to ensure that the food bank has the resources they need today and for the future. We know food insecurity is a complicated problem, and we have to think beyond traditional approaches. We have to find new and innovative partnerships and bring equitable access of resources for the people that need it most. We can make a lasting change against hunger. I believe in this mission, and we can do this together.
Thank you so much to Michael, Katherine, Jeff, Florence, and Anurag for your leadership and dedication to the food bank's future, and to all the neighbors we support. And we are grateful to all of you watching for your generosity during our time of greatest need last year. Your support has already provided a strong foundation for Nourish North Texas, and we deeply appreciate your passion for ending the hunger crisis in our region. I invite you to visit ntfb.org/Nourish North Texas to learn more about the campaign and read stories from our neighbors and partners. You will also see how you can get involved as a donor, volunteer, and advocate. Nourish North Texas is a bold campaign, and as we work toward addressing our community's greatest needs, we hope you'll join us to create a lasting change and transform lives in North Texas.